Hey, good morning, everybody. Pastor Zach here. Thanks so much for spending some time with me during our weekly discussion. As always, it's time for us to build community, time for us to share together, to be engaged in discussion, and to live into what it means to be in community. I was struck this week by a lot of things, and what I've been really struggling with, what I've seen a lot posted and things like that, is this expectation of people to say, well, prove me wrong. Show me that what I said wasn't true. Rather than taking the time to do the work themselves to see whether or not the post is actually true before they share it. And what strikes me is that this past Sunday we had a passage from Mark where Jesus talks about what defiles a person, and he says it's not what goes in, but what comes out. And he gives this whole long list about what defiles what evil intentions defile people, and it's all about what goes out. And I was struck by that with this notion of, these posts that are proclaiming, well, you need to prove me wrong. And what I struggle with is that, so it doesn't matter whether or not it's true, as long as it goes to what you want or believe or feel, that you can post it and it doesn't matter if it's true or not. And yet, here we have Jesus who's saying, it's what comes out of us. What comes out of us. Or in some instances, what goes through us then, because we take it in. Yes, we ingest all of this stuff. We ingest this news. We share all of this information. We receive all of it. And then the question becomes, what do we do with it? Do we put it out? Do we cycle it through us because it fits the narrative that we want to believe? Or do we internalize it and go, let me check that. Let me see if that really is real, even though I want to believe it, even though it sounds really good because I don't like that person. Because what would we do if that was something about us, about our child? Would we not want to do everything possible to say that's not true and work hard to defend that what is true? And people can say, well, that's just politics, that's just this. But the question and the challenge becomes, from a faith perspective, is that what are we called to live out? How are we called to share the truth, to speak the truth in love, to seek restorative justice? How are we called to do all of those things? Not just by Jesus, but by Jesus, who calls us to love one another as Christ loves us. If we are unwilling to take 30 seconds to figure out if it's true or not. And I was really struck last night. My wife and I watched a show called SEAL Team, and the final season was on, and we're going through it, and the episode was really gruesome, and we were really struggling with that. But what hit me was one of the characters was in the process, they were in Sweden. They were going up against a terrorist group, and they didn't have any weapons, and so half of them went in, and the other half were charged with caring for the wounded. And the one who was out caring for the wounded was really struggling towards the end, because he said it takes more energy, more emotion to heal than it does, and I'm going to paraphrase, to hate. He uses a different word in the context, but I really found that fascinating, because it is true. Because if we want to heal someone, we need to know what is going on in their life. We need to see what the struggle is all about, and we need to end up walking with them through it. We need to listen. We need to be able to ingest that stuff and to walk with them through some of that. And it takes energy, and it takes emotion. And so it is easier in some instances to just say, I don't want to deal with it. That looks good to me. Someone else can fact check it, share it, and be off. But what happens if we took those 30 seconds? What happens if we went, well, let me just check this? What happens if we lived into sharing truth? If we realize what comes out of us and what we want to come out of us? And so what is it? What is it that we want to come out of us? In all that is going on in our nation and in the world, in all that is going on, as followers of Jesus, what do we want to show the world? How do we want to share truth? How do we want to see living in this nation? Yeah, it's a lot. And there was actually a devotion the other morning. It was from yesterday morning, with a quote from Vince Lombardi that says, "Fatigue makes cowards of us all." But I think what strikes me again is that, fatigue just allows us to become numb. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to make the extra effort. We're tired. And I believe that a lot of this is that we are just tired, all of us. And we struggle, and anxiety goes up when we're tired and when we're fatigued. And so it just becomes this vicious cycle if we let it. But what Jesus tells us over and over again, what the Bible tells us, not just Jesus, the Old Testament, Jesus' words, the New Testament, Paul's writings, all of it remind us that we are called to be in community. They remind us that Christ is there. They remind us that we are called to be fed, to care for one another, to live into what God has for us, to see the image of God, to pray for our enemies and those who persecute us, to live into what God has in store for us, to be invited into a promise and a hope and a care that we have a God who loves, that we have a God who offers grace to me, to you, but also to the people that we don't like, to the people that we struggle with. And that's hard, because it goes back to energy and emotion. So I encourage you and I challenge you, before you share something that you may want to agree with, take a look and see if it's true. Find a way forward. Post something positive today. Share some grace. Offer forgiveness. Share joy. Take a few breaths. Rest. Let us live into these times faithfully. Let us live into these times with hope. Let us live into these times sharing truth, so that what comes out of us can be seen as the love of God for all people. Well, thank you all for spending some time with me today. I invite you to comment, to share this if you are so moved, and to invite you to join with us in worship. This week is very special. This Sunday, September 8th, is our National Day of Serving for the church. So we are gathering here at AELC at 8 a.m. for a first responders breakfast. So our local first responders will be joining us, some of them, to share in a meal, for us to give thanks for and with them. And then we will be doing various activities both here on site and off-site. We'll have some that are going to Helping Harvest, and we'll have activities and things to do for all ages to prep for that. And then we will gather at 11 o'clock for worship, both on-site and online, as we share in God's grace and as we uplift the ability to serve the world around us with hope and with joy. So I invite you to be a part of that. If you can't be with us this Sunday or on site, I'm going to challenge you, as I did on Sunday, wherever you are, find a way to serve. Go pick up trash if you're at a kid's soccer game or football game or something. And if it's not Sunday and if it's Saturday, do it then. Share a smile. Pay for somebody's coffee or buy some groceries for someone, or help out a local food bank. If you're looking for ideas, ways to serve, feel free to reach out to me, and we will gladly help you find something in your area to participate in, whether Sunday or whether sometime this week or next week. So I want to thank you all for spending some time with me today, to be engaged in the work of sharing God's truth, of loving God, and of being engaged in the work that God has for all of us. Thanks so much. Thanks, Mike. It's great to see you. Have a great week, everybody. God bless.